Adrift, episode 17. We are going live with a real life Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master. Raymond Hellfish, what's up, man? Today I'm super stoked actually because it is Vee Mus'e, which I absolutely adore her. We've done a shoot together and it's actually one of my favorite photos. I should actually link that. I'm gonna post it to my story after this because it's a really cool photo. It's like she's throwing the dice and it's just like really cool. So I can't wait to get started. Reason for the discussion, and I'm calling it turning left in the same way that everybody says, oh, that came out of left field. And the reason being is, when you kind of are a different, you're in a different field and you do something that most people think is perhaps a strange decision, it's turning left. That's what I'm gonna call it. Also, I'm left-handed, so there's that. All of my friends are just finding that out, which is hilarious to me because I've always been left-handed. And also I have the head of a fallen enemy's horse in celebration of Dungeons and Dragons. Berno, what's going on, man? How's everybody doing today? We feeling good? Monkey, Eric, I haven't seen you in so long. And by seeing you, I mean had a conversation with you because, COVID and that whole thing. Yeah, we're still doing that. It's not over yet. Hope everybody's staying safe because I am wearing masks, Yeah, how's everybody doing? We doing all right? I want messages. I want engagement. I want to hear you guys liven up, because today, I don't know, I'm feeling a little extra spunky, just like a little bit. Berno, going to the park, you can do a little workout, my friend? I know you are, dude. You always got those good videos. I know he'll respond in a moment. Yeah, so Vee Mus'e, she goes by the Crafting Muse as well. I know you are, Ray, dude. I gotta pump it up a little bit. You know what I mean? I gotta get that energy flowing because it's September now. It's getting cold. People, Berno says, "I want to hear you scream." I might scream, and I'm not yelling at you. I love you guys. But, it's September, it's getting cold, soon that cold is going to get all in your bones and you're going to get all tired, you gotta go to the park when you can now. You gotta go work out when you can now because pretty soon, and I hate to say it, it's going to be snowing. It's going to be snowing, and what we're going to do is we're all just going to go down to Costa Rica, buy a big villa, and live there together because we don't like this snow. No, you see this complexion? This is made for summer. All day long, all night long too. This is a summer complexion. I'm gonna check in. Actually, let me do a little tag here. Here we go, because I do this. I know my YouTube viewers are like, "What is he doing? Who is he talking to?" Well, this is a live stream, and there's people here, but not on YouTube, unfortunately. Here we go, and at the Crafting Muse. There we go. Boom. That's how we like it. Amazing. What did you say, Bern? Exactly. Workout. And you could do it in home or workouts all over IG. Pick your poison. Dude, I love your workouts because you're always going out there and showing people like what you're doing, you know what I mean? Like as you're doing it. And I think it reminds me of Justin Timberlake actually, because he'll go for a run. I don't know if he still does. This is maybe like, I read this article like 8 years ago, but in order to train himself for a concert, he literally like goes for a jog and sings while he's jogging. I don't know what that's called. I'm going to assume it's called cardio because I don't know. But yeah, dude. So when I see your IG stories and your lives, I think to myself, yeah, your friend told you to do that. I think to myself, like, that's Berno, man. He's going out there, he's doing a whole live stream, and he's working out at the same time. Absolutely insane. And Erica said someone must have watched Zac Efron's documentary. Erica, don't give away my secrets. This is between you and I. Crafting Muse, there you are. You've joined here. We're going to pop you on in here. If I blended that out, it's a blue screen. Don't worry about that. Vee, the Crafting Muse. Yeah.
okay. Do you have to worry about echo factor? Because I am headphoneless.
Hey, so sorry, 1 second. I forgot. They saw me take this out earlier. It is still plugged in. So 1 second, I'm going to put this away. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Can I hear you?
Can I hear you?
Ooh, there we go. Okay, we have got vocals, my friends. Yes, I apologize for that interruption.
No problem. You're not getting echoes on my end?
No, actually, your vocals might be the best I've heard thus far. Your
I'm
voice
going to
is
do this
really...
professionally, darling, so.
That's awesome. That was... This may, might be my first time, might not be,
This ain't my first time at the rodeo, honey, and I can tell you that right
now. Oh, this is a Miss America competition. I didn't know.
No, this is just my lapsing into the many different voices that live in my head, because that's the life of a DM, so hey.
And for those who don't know, a DM is not a direct message, okay? We're not sliding into DMs. We are tabletop dungeon mastering. That's what we're doing.
Yep. Dungeons and Dragons. It's called Dungeon Master for Dungeons and Dragons. If it's for other tabletop roleplay games, it's called Game Master.
Game Master. And thank you for clarifying that, because I didn't know. And I still want to take you up on that game, because every time I see your crafts, I'm like, but now COVID happened and it's like, why not?
This whole thing happened. Although quite frankly, COVID has made it so there's more activity on my end because of it. Because people are at home and they want to do things, and I don't blame them, because
I know. It's like it's almost like darned if you do, darned if you don't kind of a scenario.
Oh yeah, completely.
It's one of those. It's one of those. I'm so excited because, coming up to this, there was like a lot of other stuff going on. I was trying to like get everything together and organize. And I was like, I want to make sure I have the energy for the show. And literally, I feel like this happens almost every time, like 30 minutes just before the show, all of a sudden my spirit awakens. I'm all like ready. I'm like, come on, it's game time, folks. Let's go.
Oh yeah, no, it's totally, I get it too. It's it'll be like a couple hours before a stream, like a game stream, and I know I have to be on for like 4 hours. And I'll be sort of like, I just want to go to bed. It is 6 o'clock at night. I want to go to sleep. Game is at 8:30. We'll probably be done around midnight, maybe. And sure enough, 8 o'clock hits, and like, my co-players and my DM, they always crack up because I'm the one that's like, okay, let's go. And then I play Mouthy Bard. So hey, it works.
Right. Well, whatever works, because like I'm actually dealing with a little bit of allergies here. So I'm going to, guys, right now, if I sneeze, I promise it is not a dragon. It is not an orc or a golem. It is just me. And yeah, we should wear our masks for this, because I don't know if COVID could travel through sound. We're still trying to figure this out.
I hope not, because then I'm just generally screwed.
Okay, so let's tap in here, because for those of you who don't know, we need to introduce you. So I always laugh a little bit just before a bio, because I like to try and pretend like I'm not reading off of something, but pro tip, I am. So Vee Mus'e, aka the Crafting Muse, is known in the tabletop role-playing game world as a mini painter, terrain maker, and professional dungeon master / and we covered this, game master. The arts have always played a strong part in her life, and her endeavors reflect this. Sharing her knowledge with others and helping them tap into their own talents is another passion of hers, and something she will always strive to do. And I know this personally, we're about to get into that. Teaching and guiding people through the discovery of a new hobby or interest drives her to continue to create spaces for individuals to learn and grow. So Vee Mus'e, we welcome you to Adrift.
Thank you. And you're making me sound fancy. It's actually just Muse. Vee Muse.
No, because you are like a musée,
I was going to say, if you want some more French, we can go more French, so I'm fine with that.
Oh, no, honey, you were my teacher, but not of that language. No.
No, a different language.
A whole other language, and we will leave it at that. But I have a gift for you.
Okay.
I have a gift for you, and I can't give it to you until, of course, this is over. But I was at war. with my compatriots, and there was this beautiful horse that one of my enemies had, and I cut its head off for you.
Sweet. I can knock
So
it on my wall and say it's been conquered.
that's right, and
That'll work.
it goes. Oh, we have fun. We have fun. Oh my gosh. No, this is crazy. So I did kind of touch on that. You were my teacher, and we're gonna kind of mostly leave it there, but you were also one of my favorite teachers. And I'm not saying that just because you're on. You're actually one of 3 teachers that when I look back on, I know for a fact had a very pivotal role in shaping my experience as a person. And I remember specifically because you and one other teacher actively wanted me to ask questions, actively wanted me to be engaged, and I was just so thirsty for information. I was just like, give me more, give me more, give me more. And I've actually had some teachers who have been like, you've asked enough, like, maybe chill out on that a little bit. So here we are, however many years later, and I'm still asking questions.
Good.
And we blame you for that.
Good. Always question. Keep going. Never.
No, but see, that's what's interesting is, the theme, I kind of called it turning left, and I was explaining before because I'm left-handed, but there's always been that sort of phrasing, like, this came out of left field. If something was strange or bizarre or kind of out of touch for a person. And I always found that interesting because when you really look at something, for example, a career or a passion, a dream, what have you, you look at a person's past and you can kind of see those foundations being built up. You know what I mean? You can see that. So you're currently a dungeon/game master. And so how do you feel like that platform allows you to continue to teach and continue to like be there for people?
Oh God, it's a very good question because I was known as a very reluctant DM. People knew me as a player. They enjoyed me as a player and how I like to approach the game and my characters. And for the longest time, I'd have people saying, "You'd be a great DM. You should do it." And I'm like, "No, I don't wanna." I was very stubborn about it. You would probably laugh if you heard some of the conversations and how I was reacting because you would have been like, "That's so not like you." But it was reluctance on my end because I didn't want to screw it up.
Right.
That was sort of the mentality I had, that I wouldn't be able to do it properly or approach it from the right direction. And finally, a friend of mine pretty much leaned in on me. And he said, "You're going to miss out on a pretty cool opportunity if you keep saying no." And he wasn't wrong. And it was sort of that kick in the pants that made me realize, okay, fine, fair. You make a good point. Let me give it a try. So I started, it's called prepping for the game. Started prepping for the game, and as I'm sitting there and pulling things together, I had this moment where I realized, I'm like, holy crap, it's just lesson planning, except we're telling stories. And as soon as that clicked, I kid you not, it feels like every single time I run a game, like I'm back in my classroom with my kids and we're having these great moments where we're just ripping off of each other and going from there. Like we would have in class together type of thing. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know.
You're one of the rare few who probably understands exactly what I mean when I say that.
All too well.
All too well.
No, I totally do, because it's wild. Like, one of the previous episodes, I talked about this, like, not like my theory, but something that I've been kind of paying attention to, and that was kind of this idea of ripples. Like kind of like when you see like raindrops in a river or in a stream, a lake, or what have you, and you see these kind of like ripples coming out, and then because it's raining from so many different places, you see them kind of overlap. And I just always thought that was so fascinating because, like, even my shift from psychologist to photographer really wasn't that different. It wasn't so strange. Like, the only difference to me was that instead of sitting down and talking to a person and kind of working on building that rapport, it was me standing up and them standing up and working on that rapport. And in fact, it was kind of strange because I started feeling like I was doing more things that were helpful for the person as a photographer than I even did as a therapist, which I thought was strange, a social worker and all of those various fields that I was a part of. So it was like, it's really so bizarre to me. And that's why I wanted to have you on to have that discussion, because I feel like there's a lot of apprehension about exploring a sort of a different side of yourself. Even like you said, you were a reluctant dungeon master,
Mhm.
reluctant, you
Yeah.
know. What was that kind of like for you to sort of just like break through that feeling? I mean, was it really that pivotal moment?
Um, Honestly, yes, because God, for too many years in my life,
Mm,
it's always been a matter of the what you shoulds, the how you shoulds, should, these preconceptions and expectations of what you are supposed to fulfill.
mm,
And XYZ, fill in the blanks, all that loveliness. And when I started getting into the whole role playing games and exploring different personalities and playing different games and meeting various wonderfully different people,
mm,
I started realizing that a lot of these boxes that I thought you had to stay within these confines didn't really need to be there anymore. And you could
mm,
still be an effective and compassionate individual, perhaps even more so because
mm,
of breaking out of the box. And by becoming a DM, by nature, you become all these different people and you present them to a crowd of people
mm,
and you learn different aspects of yourself because you're sort of playing it out as these characters. So
mm,
becoming a DM has probably been the one thing that has helped me learn the most about myself
mm.
because of all these different facets of myself that are created essentially through
Right.
these characters and through these games and the way we explore them. And there are many people in the industry who will reflect similarly, saying how there's been a therapeutic self-discovery factor in their gameplay, in doing what they do each and every week or every other week or once a month, depending how often they meet. So it's one of those things where I knew it was going to be a shift in my life once I started doing it. I didn't realize just how much it was going to change for me, but it was also going to tap into everything I have learned on my journey as it is, which is really kind of cool to see.
Yeah, yeah. How, maybe this wasn't a question that we had talked about, but I'm hearing this, and like one of the things that I'm like that's kind of resonating with me is how this would help somebody's self-esteem. I mean, like even thinking about some of the characters that certain people kind of gravitate towards, maybe the more muscular, the more tall, the more physically attractive, like being able to present yourself within that sort of paradigm and be known as that gives you the opportunity to feel that, I feel like.
Um, I have watched individuals go from struggling with themselves, trying to figure out their identity, where they want to go with things, and they start out with this new character, and you see that there's a lot happening to the character that they're trying out for the first time in game, where they feel safe, where they're amongst friends, where they know the storyline is under a bit more control than if this was something they were to try outside the game for
Mm,
themselves as the individual. It gives you sort of this, we always joke about, breaking the fourth wall, which we're doing right now, whatever.
right.
But, when you put on an act on a stage, it's different because you shoot that wall straight up. Yes, the audience is there, and yes, you want to project out the energy to the audience, but you don't stop and go, and this is like a certain Shakespearean play. You don't stop and go, oh, but by the way, because that's so
Hey,
taboo. It's like, you're not supposed to do that. Whereas with these role play games, that fourth wall needs to not be there because you need to be able to interact with each other. But again, because it's this smaller controlled environment, I see people feeling more free and more comfortable with exploration and discovery and sort of meandering through their own questions and thoughts about themselves through the safety of a character.
that's kind of fascinating too, because it is a decision-based game as well. Like there's a lot of sort of routes and paths that you can take. So you're not only, kind of playing this role, but you're also trying to decide from the perspective of that role how you would handle a situation that otherwise you wouldn't have never been in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like how do I tackle this monster of a beast with a team, and how do we use our abilities together? Like all of that is real world and useful information.
It it's such a great way of team building and communication and thinking outside the box and being creative
Mm-hmm.
with other individuals and seeing how each person sort of ticks. Because yes, even though you still try and approach stuff like, well, what would my character do? It boils down to the fact it's also, well, partly what would you do? Because you are the driving force behind the character. But it definitely it gives you the ability to express and work with each other more so than other, experiences might in your life.
Yeah, so just for the people who are joining on right now, we are speaking with Vee Muse, although I do like to say Muse.
Mhm.
And we are talking Dungeons and Dragons. She is a dungeon slash game master. So no, we're really kind of diving deep in here because I kind of said this might happen. You would say something and it's just like those sort of ripples start connecting. It's like, what? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And mind you, I'm a big video game person. You know, like I came up on video games, and in fact, it's as interesting as it is. I think that, or as strange as it might sound, it was through video games that I started understanding technology really well. You know, like as a
Mhm.
child at like 8 years old, I was like disconnecting the Sega Genesis and trying to figure out how to put it on the bigger TV. You know what I mean? Like tinkering away and
Mhm.
trying to understand these little systems. So it really keeps going back to this idea of those ripples, and it's each sort of thing that you allow your each situation you allow yourself to be put in challenges you and makes you realize that it's really not that different, it's not that complicated, but it's the perception that makes it so.
Mhm. Very much
Yeah,
so. Very much so.
I find that really fascinating. I really didn't expect to kind of think of it that way. For me, it's fun in games, but even again, from a therapeutic perspective, you're talking essentially about play therapy, you know?
Mhm.
And there's
Yep.
been like big CEOs who have to be like alpha types day in and day out. And these dudes, they'll go, men and women CEOs,
Mhm.
and on the spectrum, they'll all come and they'll go and they'll play this role of a child or somebody more submissive just to try and let that energy out. I think it's really kind of mind blowing. My head is like tingling right now. This is
Yeah, no,
crazy.
it's really true because it's, I, the variety of characters I've played out, it's interesting the ones that I feel the most connected to
Mm,
after playing them because of sort of the the respite almost that they provide by having a chance to spend time in their shoes. Um, the one character I play, her name is Cantriel, and she's a bard with a little bit of Ranger dashed in. For those of you who actually play the game, you know what I'm talking about. But she's basically this extremely loud, boisterous, sarcastic, snarky, salty, doesn't care what other people are going to think of her. She just outs and says these things at half the time when I'm done saying it. I'm like, I can't believe you said that. But for me, she's a great outlet to just have a chance to speak and be heard.
mhm.
Know that her strident tones are being heard by people in the chat and people want to hear her story and want to listen to what she has to say. But then on the flip side, I have this darling little sweetheart named Scylla, and she's also a ranger. Rangers are like my favorite class,
Mm.
FYI for those who play. Um, but she is this quiet little, okay, sure. And she wants to, hang out with her friends and just have fun and, make sure that they're happy and they're comfortable is really her goal in the whole thing. Everyone's alive and doing well, mission accomplished each and every day. But for her, it's nice just to not have to be completely on all the time
Mm.
because, again, she's more of like she'll sit and observe and then she kind of does. So it's just every single one of them gives you a little something to work on, work with, or have because of your playing through with them. And it is play therapy. It absolutely is. There's studies going around now. There are people I know personally who have done books on this, and it's wonderful stuff.
Do you notice some of your peers and some of the other newer players even, do you notice that there's a moment where they realize kind of this awakening within themselves, or is it kind of like a slower process?
Yeah, there have been a couple of key instances where, and they recently happened within this past year too, so that's interesting. One of my players, we sort of played through this scene for her character, pardon me. And it was a touchy subject. It was, content warning. It related to domestic abuse.
Mhm.
And it was something where her character's backstory involved it. And we had a scene where we sort of flashed into the backstory, and I was very careful with it because I know it can be a very, truly using the word appropriately, triggering
Yeah.
situation. Not, I'm
Yes.
upset. I'm not
Yeah.
going to call the manager. I mean, truly triggering. But as we played through it, I was watching her carefully because I wanted to make sure I was getting her cues. If something was getting overwhelming, it's like, okay, dial back, stop. But watching this woman find strength and confidence to confront the adversary, to say words that chances are were something that she wanted to be able to say for herself. I saw when we finished that scene just this look on her face where you could tell it was more than just playing out what the character would have done.
Mm.
And honestly, the same for me because it was one of those moments where it's like we did that together. We processed through this together. So that was one scene. And then there was another moment where I was playing with another person, player to player, and we worked through basically a loss, this
Mm.
concept of losing someone important to you. And it was just very quiet and very simple. And ultimately, his character needed to hear it wasn't your fault. But ironically, it was something where we both admitted that was a phrase that just needed to be said in general.
Mm.
So there are definitely those moments where you see the transformation. And it's not that you break character, but you realize after the fact that there was a lot happening because of this character and the interactions you're able to have with each other.
Yeah. It's really fascinating in the sense that what you're seeing when you see people play like games, any tabletop game really, what you're seeing is, adults playing over a tabletop with little figures but what you're not seeing is everything going on in a person's mind.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see the creative energy that person, that even that world that this person, each one of them, while they're playing, like that they're building in their head.
Yeah.
And what's wild is that those figures, from my understanding, mind you, because I've yet to play. I've played games, but like, I've yet to play like I mean, I've
Right.
Pokemon cards, but you know what I mean. Like they're cues to kind of keep that sort of mental realm intact. To keep you sort of not chained, but sort of bound to that sort of realm. So
Mhm.
it almost is a disservice in a way that people don't get to see that, and they don't get to experience like that wholesome like vibe, if you will. You know.
Well, they do if you make a point to watch streams. There are so many live streams where people are playing the games. It's what I do. I'm on a couple, and you do have those moments if you stick around and you actually watch the show, not the show, but the game, and get into it. You do see those moments where these things do happen and you work through them. But I think the thing, and again, it goes back to communication. You make such an effort to make sure for those to work that you're talking with each other, that you're
Mm.
communicating, that you're watching each other, that you're not just, well, this is how I want to play it out and this is how I'm going to play it. It's like, are you okay with this? Should we keep going? Are you in your comfort zone? Do we need to dial this back? For it to be successful, then you absolutely need to make sure that there is this trust. You can riff off of each other and express with each other what it is you're comfortable with. I'm comfortable here, but I'm not comfortable there. And as long as you have those healthy boundaries and that healthy means of communicating and reaching out to each other, it can be extremely successful in that respect. Absolutely.
It's wild because as you're saying that, I can really sense the sort of like the actual sense of tension per battle. You know what I mean? And that each battle means something individual to the person,
Mhm.
to the player. That's really, and then so you also touched on that you have a YouTube channel. You kind of alluded to it, but you do have a YouTube
I
channel.
do.
It's, you transition like I don't even know, like, because that's very similar to me doing Adrift. Like, I did not expect to start doing a video. So, like, for you, like, what was that sort of process like? Did you feel like you could reach more people, help more, or just have fun?
It
Somebody
was
twisted your arm, didn't they?
it literally connected back to teaching. Someone asked me, "Can you show me how you do that?" They asked the teacher to teach something. So for me, I'm like, yeah, okay. That's how it started. someone asked me if I could show them how to do something I knew how to do. And I just kept going.
The simplicity.
It was a simple request. And it just on and on it went. Which
I was literally just having this conversation with how I tend to overcomplicate things just in life. Like I want to know all the little bits, pieces, and processes, and all the little Lego bits and whatever. And you're giving me a response that is so simple, but yet so charged. You know, like somebody just wanted a little help, a little assistance, and there you were. But then there was the consistency of it. You know, were there more questions, or did you kind of just say, "Oh, you know, maybe I'll do this week," you know?
it literally was mostly I'd make something, I'd share it, and then seeing responses to it would sort of give me the idea of like, well, maybe I could do this for a video. A lot of things people were logging in on were how I'd go about painting things. Because I do have the artistic background. I do have training in the arts. So for me, I was bringing in knowledge of color theory and knowledge of working with different media and everything like that, but able to express it at a level that is obtainable for people. Like it's not something where you're like, I could never do that, because I try and make it so it's like, okay, you're just starting out. I don't want you to run out of the room screaming, I don't know what I'm doing. I want to give you the tools and the knowledge so you feel successful in what you want to try and do. So for me, it was literally just, well, that was fun. And then it was the interaction of people asking questions and wanting clarification or hoping for more information. And it just kept driving one video into the next video. And it's at the point now where the channel is just sort of like, I honestly can't keep up with doing that channel itself, because there's so much on it now. It's like over 150 videos that are up there now. It's kind of just on its own. Like people can watch it, people can refer to it, because you get to a point you're like, I can only teach you how to paint this so many times the same way.
Right.
But I am still doing other content elsewhere as well. So you can find me on other channels too. That's the funny thing. But I still try and make a point of being present and helping people when they have questions, and showing them this, that, or the other thing if I'm asked, quite frankly, because I think a part of me will always have a foot in the classroom. It's just my nature, because I've always enjoyed and been passionate about teaching and interacting with others.
Yeah. And your website, for those of the viewers and everybody, is theecraftingmuse.com, and that is spelled exactly. There's no asterisks or dashes. It's theecraftingmuse.com. And were somebody to go to the website, of course, I'm sure they will, are your videos linked on there? Is your YouTube channel linked through there? How's that work?
YouTube channel is linked. I have it. So there's, you go to the homepage, there's all these links to the different places where you can find stuff. So, because I'm kind of all over the place. So I made a point that you can click through and link, and you can find the videos for how to paint miniatures or make terrain, or you can find places where I have been in games, or you can even just, if you want to follow me on Twitter, because I'm sort of across the board there. So yeah, no, that's it. Basically, it's a sort of a little map to start discovering different areas.
And you have videos for just about all of it. You have videos for learning how to build your figures and the terrain, but you also have videos of you actually playing the game as well.
Yeah, there are videos of me playing. I think I have a playlist. Yeah, I think there's a playlist that I have on my YouTube channel that you can go through and start connecting the dots for different campaigns that I've been in. But I've been on other channels too, so it's one of those things you could even like go onto YouTube and just type in the Crafting Muse, and other things will pop up along with my own videos, because it's kind of, YouTube's crazy like that.
I know, yeah. Well, Google,
But I am quite proud. I can Google myself, and it's myself that I see for those first couple pages, which is kind of thumbs up cool.
Hey.
I did it.
Well, no, I know, but that's what's so crazy too, is like, I remember when it was just kind of just starting out, and to see how it exploded and kept getting bigger and bigger, I was just like, whoa, dude. Like,
yeah, you and me both. There are many times I sit there, I'm like, I don't know. People like, I don't know. I just kept doing. I just kept following what I was passionate about.
Oh, that's the one right there. That's the one. There it is. There's the magic. There's the secret sauce. Just follow. No, but it's so simple. It is so, so simple. And I feel like if I wanted to end this show tonight and never say another word. Because I feel like every episode literally is this. It's this. It's really plot twist. It's the same thing every single time.
Yeah.
Follow your passion. It
Yeah.
is that simple. It is.
There's there's a very strong truth to it. Everyone that I know who has gotten to the point they have in their own lives where people would deem them as successful, it's because they have such a deeply entrenched love for what it is they have done in their lives, for what it is they're doing in their lives. And it keeps them wanting to learn more, wanting to develop, wanting to keep following different paths. And that's the other thing. It's just because you hit the ground running and then you finally reach what you want to, don't get stagnant. That's the other thing that can happen. If you sit there's like, I made it. Okay, nice. Now what?
Yes.
It's, trust me, if you sit there in your glory, for lack of a better word, you're going to miss out on more because you get complacent and because you get stuck in your ways and you're not continually growing and learning and developing yourself. I think that's also a critical part. If you kind of just sort of sit there, it's like, well, this is who I am. And the world around you keeps moving and it keeps changing. It keeps adjusting. If you don't, that world is very much going to leave you behind.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's a scary thing too, because again, even with coronavirus happening, like I knew that even though this virus was happening, even though there were certain regulations in place to keep people at home and all these other fun sort of things, I knew that there were other people that I will call quote unquote competitors, not because I really view them that way, but realistically competitors. I knew they were doing something. You know, I knew that they were figuring it out, and that became part of my sort of that's what motivated me to do this in part. And I know I have had a lot of moments where I was like, this is the reason. It's a kerfuffle of reasons. It's a whole list of reasons why I started doing this. But that was one of them, because I remember feeling that sort of anxiety of like, but what are they doing? You know, like, what can you do? You know what I mean? And I still to this day don't really know why Adrift popped in my head. Like that is the biggest mystery to me. Like I have no idea why of all the things I could have done. I could have done self-portraits. A friend of mine who I had on here, she was doing these beautiful long distance portraits. And it's like, could have been any number of things, but here's where I went. Thought I don't want to hear it.
You've been doing this for a very long time, young man. In my classroom, are you kidding me? You would provoke, you would get people to think thoughtfully, and you would get them to delve deeper into their concepts and their own discoveries. I watched you do that. It's in your blood. So quite frankly, you think this is a surprise? The second I saw you doing this, I sat back and went, because for me, it was a very familiar view.
For the audience, this is what I look like when I'm blushing.
Another familiar view. But it's true. It's something that you've always innately been able to do with other people. You've had this knack, and that's why when you went into doing the social work and the therapy and everything like that, I was not surprised at all, because of your ability to interact and communicate with people so quickly and reach a level with them where they will, you know, get into a back and forth with you.
Yeah, I need a fan. I need a fan. No, because that's, you know, that's a really beautiful compliment. And I don't often get to have this kind of a conversation with somebody who has known me for as long as you do. And I think that's another thing that's fascinating about Adrift, is that I get to check in with people who I haven't, you know, gotten a chance to check in with that often. But for the most part, not everybody I know. And if I don't know them, somebody that I know who knows them.
Right.
You know, it was always so important for me, not for rapport. Actually, it could really be anybody off the street, honestly. But like,
yes.
It could be anybody. But like, for me, it was, yeah, it was important because I have this fantastic network of people who see me for me and I see them for them. And having these conversations from that perspective with this foundation just elicits such a different experience. And again, I didn't know that's what I was doing, but now that you're saying it, I'm like, she knows something. You know? That's great. You know? And you just said it. You just said it yourself as well. This wasn't such a bizarre transition. And that's really what I want people to take home is like anything you do, you're always going to bring a certain sense of yourself to that craft. You
Hmm.
know, you're always going to like bring you to it. And so it doesn't really matter what it is that you do because it's always going to have that you essence in it.
Yep. Yep. If what you're doing is the right path for you, you will find it's almost innate. It just, it gets attached to it. You can't help it. It's just going to be there.
I'm
You
really
find yourself. You're what?
I'm really buzzing on this right now. I'm sorry. I'm just like, whoa, dude. No, because that's another thing is like I was reading in this book that humans think that we are unpredictable, that we conceive of things so randomly and that, that just any anything that we do isn't predictable in essence. And when you really kind of zoom out and look at behavioral patterns of societies, humans are actually incredibly predictable. So it's kind of to your point that when you saw me go into social work and psychology and you saw me start doing Adrift and even photography for you, you may have not thought that that was so strange because you knew that the foundation that I brought to life would kind of lead me into those things, or rather, I would put myself into those things.
Hmm.
And so again, like whatever it is that a chef, for example, like it could be anything. Like I'm not a chef. I don't cook professionally. I'm not going to assume that you cook professionally, but I have
Yeah.
had a meal and it was delicious. Uh, but it's that sort of love and the care that you put into like making a dish have certain ingredients and certain that it's paired with certain things, like it's not just about red meats go with red wines. Maybe you're crazy and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do like a frozen cranberry lemonade with it. I don't know, you'll have something personal.
No, but I completely agree. It's especially having been one who studies various literature and reading through various genres and books, there are, people call them tropes, uh, but there are reasons why certain things constantly come back up to the surface within stories
Mm,
because it is part of the human, I don't want to say nature, it's part of the human experience.
yeah.
It's something that we as humans living our lives by pure happenstance are going to experience just because we are going through the process of growing older, learning lessons, wanting to do something for one person or another person, wanting to succeed, wanting to explore, wanting to find ourselves. All of these thoughtful and specific choices, they're not so random because so many of us are going through not the exact same path. It's never going to be the exact same thing for every single person, but they are similar journeys.
Right. Right.
So that's why you do see, sort of an organization to the chaos.
There is, yeah. It was wild because that book, it really expressed it like that, as if you were to zoom out from like a singular individual and you just looked at the way people moved and you looked to the places that they congregated. It all started making a sort of, I don't want to say cosmic sense, but I guess like a societal sort of a sense. Like it really, it seems like chaos because each individual motivation is factored into like what's happening, but the what's happening part is really kind of the same part,
Mm-hmm.
both very the same. And
Yeah.
it's difficult to kind of accept that because I think, when you were talking about being stuck in a sort of in a sort of position. I don't remember, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember the wording you used, but being stuck and you have these people who don't realize it. You have these people who, you also mentioned being in a box before.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a box and that's all like how are you ever going to experience anything out of the box? If you never even like touch the top, like the box couldn't even be taped shut. Like you could literally just get out of there. But if you never question like what's beyond the horizon, you're never going to know that there is something beyond the horizon. It could be nothing,
Mm-hmm.
you could reach a cliff, but then what about that view? I don't know. What does that view inspire you to see, you
But then you
know?
get to see what's at that cliff, something you may not have seen ever before in your life. So it's
Yeah.
one of those things where life is always going to be a journey. There's no way around it. You're always going to have different choices. You're always going to have those paths where, you know, it splits off. And I'm not quoting Robert Frost because there's more than just a fork in the road. But you have those moments in life where this way, keep going straight, go in this direction, maybe even turn around because you saw something back there that might have been a better way to go. Which a lot of people forget about that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no shame in changing your mind and trying something else.
Yes. Yeah. And then again, because that thing that you may be shifting to may not really be that different. Or maybe it is, but who's to say? You won't know.
Yep.
Until you.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just again, being willing to learn and explore, I think is my allergies are kicking in. Key. It's something you need to do.
No, it's really fascinating because, I mean, even you think of something like, well, again, it's not like this is going to be happening a whole lot anymore, but for a time being. But, you know, like the meetup.coms and whatever. Let's say you have zero interest in yoga, right? But, like, I don't know, for whatever reason, you're like, all right, I'm going to go to a yoga class and whatever. The sheer fact that you went to that class put you in front of people that you never would have been confronted with or would have experienced otherwise before. And because you went to that yoga class, even though you may not be super interested in it, you might meet somebody who will put you on a path or a direction that will get you somewhere that you're interested. And that's where thinking outside of the box is great, because it's like, it's not just about the yoga class. It's not just about the meetup. It's not just about the bike club, going to the gym. It's about, like, who do you meet there? Like, who are the people that might set you on this whole new journey of discovery? Like, it's infinite. It's really infinite.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's one of those things where, you know, pardon me. People call
It's
it
okay. I'm like tearing here, and I'm like low key crying because of what you said, but also allergies. Like,
it's like the night air just came in, and I forgot to grab my water. Give me a quick second. Let me grab my water.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's literally right over there.
Mine is right here. Sponsored by water.
Sponsored by water, and mine is fizzy because I like fizzy water better.
Ooh, yeah, you like to live life on the wild side. I see that.
Not like my bubbly personality. But anyways, what were we talking about? Rewind the brain.
Amount of possibility and potential.
Oh, right. The serendipity. There's the word I want.
Side note, I love that word, and not because the John Cusack movie. It really is just like a great movie. It's a cute movie. I mean, it's like adorable, but yeah.
I've definitely found that the people in my life who I would say it was a serendipitous encounter, they have all somehow impacted where I've gone in life after meeting them. So I think there's a lot to be said about, like you said, you never know who you're going to meet by trying out something new. Even if it's something as silly as, you know what, I don't feel like shopping at this grocery store anymore. Let me go to this one.
Mind-blowing.
Something new just happened. Or, you know, you stop and you hold the door open for someone and you smile at them. Like, they're just these little nuances of decisions that you make on the daily. You never know what it's going to bring to you. Ever.
Yeah, we forget about that, right? I mean, human communication goes way beyond the words that we say. You know, it's the hand gestures, it's what the eyebrows are doing, it's your posture, it's the way, the tone of voice that you have, you know. I mean, it's even great when you have like a little voice that you like to talk in, just to kind of express something as, like, maybe it's too profound for you to say in your own voice, so you want to make it like a little bit more malleable for another person to hear, you know. So you say it a little funny just so it kind of seeps in there like a seed. You know, like all of these different factors of communication all allow you to all factor into the growth of an idea, you know. And that's really what it comes down to, all these little ideas that really blossom into this experience, you know. It really comes down to that. And that's why I loved this idea of, like, turning left. You know what I mean? Like, if the GPS says go right or go straight, stay on this road, like, go left, because then that GPS is going to bring you a crazy route and you have no idea where you're going to go. But you might see a beautiful view. You might find a farm. You know, there might be an axe murderer. I hope that there's not, but it's possible. You know, like, it's infinite. The world is infinite.
You got dark.
3 cheers for positivity.
I love it. But it's, and it sounds so profound, but it also is sort of a innate common sense when you stop
Yeah.
and actually listen to yourself and your own thoughts.
Mm.
Because,
Ah.
if you just sort of like just let the noise, everything out here, all these things like, nah, 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 you should be doing da 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 da, if you just kind of, earmuffs and give yourself time to, some like to call it meditation, some like to call it personal reflection, some just like to call it me time. But
Mm.
I have found that people who take the time to just sort of sit and mull things over reflectively, not
Yeah.
critically, not to beat themselves up, not the negative voices. That's not who I'm talking to, and let them go off and do their own thing. But that thing where it's like, maybe I was onto something. I really enjoyed that blank part of my day. What was it about this blank part? What was it about this one particular person? And just sort of letting yourself have those moments. They're, they're moments that can help you in the greater scheme of things
Yeah.
in the long run. And I think a lot of us forget that you can sit and be with yourself for a little bit and have that time to yourself, because we're always going everywhere.
Oh, it's like do 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 do
Mhm.
do. Like, come on. I know there's synapses firing. I was thinking about that. I made the mistake of downloading this phone game, and I'm like thinking about the way that the game works. And really, it was the stupidest thing, and I realized how it got me so involved. It was this game where, like, you're in this car and you have to drive a certain amount of distance, and it's impossible for you to get to the end of it without collecting a certain amount of coins to then buy upgrades, right? And then when you reach the end, it makes you use a new car and you're going faster and you do it again. And I was thinking about this and I was like, this game is only interesting because of the overstimulation of colors and things blowing up, but there's really no skill or anything really involved in it.
Mhm.
And these are the kind of things that we sit and we pay attention to, as opposed to, like you were saying, just our thoughts, our minds, relationships, new ones, old ones. What did that relationship mean back in the past? How did that affect me? Versus how is this new relationship potentially going to affect me? Or do I just do it just for the sake of like the experience of it?
Mhm.
It really is just, I really just feel like it comes back to just do something for the experience. And if you don't wind up getting anything out of it, there's more experiences. I'm sure you're going to get something out of it, but there's going to be more experiences.
And I have found if you go into something thinking intentionally, what am I going to get out of this?
Ooh, yeah.
You've
Don't
almost
do.
slammed the door in front of your own face.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm
If
happy.
you have to be open to things, and
Mm,
you have to be aware that this may somehow be beneficial, but if you expect everything to be beneficial for you, or to be handed to you, or to be something you can just do and is going to be easy, oh, you've just changed the game completely.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. And isn't life just a game? Isn't it all a series of decisions that may or may not affect you in one way or another? It's funny. All right, I'm gonna say like a really quick story, and then I'm gonna try to say it super quick because we are definitely wrapping up. But I had a dream where I did something that involved an illicit substance and I got arrested and sent to prison for it. But this is a dream. This did not really happen.
Right.
But but I recognized that I wasn't read my Miranda rights, and so I didn't say anything, and therefore it allowed me to get a favorable decision in the court. Why is this relevant? Well, it's relevant because even in my dreams, I'm thinking about how different choices that I would make would affect me. And that's ultimately another thing, just to like super duper quickly tap into, is like the reason why some of us dream is to kind of process some of these things in an abstract way so that it's not so hard for us to process it in real life. And again, like your dreams, I feel like only become more and more stunted the less and less you allow yourself to hear what you want yourself to know. And I know that's a strange thought. You yourself have ideas that you're trying to tell yourself. You, innately, you know what you should do. Innately, your mind is there for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not listening, what's it for, man? Like, what's it for? You know?
Laced up there.
Yeah. So I do want to give you this last bit of time just to wrap up. I want you to, make sure you share anything that's coming up for you, the Crafting Muse,
Crafting Muse. No, I'm Vee Muse. I am very active in the tabletop role-playing game world. You can find me on various socials, like here on Instagram, shocker, as well as Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. All as the Crafting Muse in one way, shape, or another. I am either doing things like tomorrow afternoon on the WizKids channel, I am doing some unboxings of new products that are coming out, or I'll be, like tomorrow's Wednesday, right? Because days, right now. Thursday, I'll be playing a game over on Mini Terrain Domain as that bard I was talking about earlier, so you can see me in full throttle mode. And you can catch that over on Twitch, Mini Terrain Domain at 8:30-ish.
PM.
Yeah. But yeah, no, basically I am very much an active member, and I enjoy and I love the community. And come over, follow, say hi, tell me like a quick little message, caught you over on Wake Up Fresco, and I'll be like, hey dude, what's up?
Right. Yes, like, subscribe, follow, because even though it may be tabletop for one person, it might be a life-changing experience for another.
You never know.
You never know. So, Vee, thank you so much for joining us today. You've been so wonderful and fantastic. I love your personality. And may or may not have almost cried on this episode. I feel like that's the theme. We're going to work on that. Or are we? I don't know.
I don't know. Just make it all the more endearing.
Maybe I'll just I was thinking about that the other day. One last thought. I was thinking how fantastic it would be if for like an hour straight I just cried on a live stream. Just cried. I'm not a crier, but just to kind of evoke a certain emotion. I don't know if I could cry for an hour, but maybe that's another experience. I don't know where that might lead. Maybe a book.
Yeah. Cathartic experience. Experiment. No, cathartic experiment.
Cathartic experiment. There you go. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. And once again, if you would like to learn more, it is thecraftingmuse.com, and you can find her on all of these socials, including Twitch. Check her out. All right, guys. See you later.